first time I heard him speak was, how many of you were here when Bill Barlow was here? Okay. The gentleman that lost about 200 pounds in 1 year through juice cleansing and detoxification. Well, when Paul had basically a celebration, a party, after the end of that year when he lost 200 pounds, he asked some of his friends and whatnot to go and meet him there. And that's when I heard Paul for the first time, and when you hear him speak, it's just difficult to describe in words, but it's as if, well, it's not as if, because this is how it works when he speaks from my experience, is that he's basically a channel for the divine, and it's not really like his words coming through, and you'll be able to experience some of that I think tonight. So I'd ask you to just listen with an open heart, and we're just so blessed that he's able to fly all the way up from Texas to be with us here tonight.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Howdy. Y'all seen that other movie? It's from Texas. Wow, Canada. I see why they call it beautiful. Is that Alexis? Hey Alexis, how are you? Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, thank y'all for coming this evening. Thank you to Pastor Steve, to Dr. Ali. This is my first time to travel internationally and speak, so I have this little butterfly that's wanting to come out right now, and I'm going all over America. What was that?
Welcome to Canada.
Thank you very much, sir. It's a very beautiful place. I can see why they call it beautiful BC. Tonight I'm going to talk about cleansing and detox. And just so I can get a familiarity with the audience, how many people here have done a cleanse before? Okay, so I'm guessing 36% of you. Alright, so just to know my audience, just to know where I come from, my first cleanse that I ever did started with a cheeseburger. It sounds weird, but I'll tell you the story. When I was 19, in college, I was working out a lot, I was reading Men's Health, and I read this thing about water fasting, and it said water fasting is really good for you, and I forget what the exact article was about. But I said, I think I can do a water fast. I'm going to try it. I'm 19, I'm strong, I can do this. And so I said, I'm going to do a 24-hour water fast. And so I went to, there's a place called Sonic, which is like a fast food place. When I was 19, I was like, I want a cheeseburger with fries and a Dr. Pepper. And I ate that. And I was like, I can make it till tomorrow night at 8. I know I can. So I drank water after that meal. I drank water, and I woke up the next morning. I was like, okay, I'm not dead yet. I drank water, and lunch, drank water. And I was really hungry by 7. And by 8 o'clock the next night, I went and had the exact same meal. And I broke my fast with a cheeseburger. And that's nowhere near, that's not what I do now. I'm not suggesting that to anyone. But it's just to make you comfortable. Like, if you're wherever you are in your journey, there's a place to start. And that was my place to start. And the next places I started, my raw food journey, I was in Santa Monica, California. And I was a personal trainer for ABC's Extreme Makeovers. It was the #1 TV show at the time. And I was training the clients for that show, and a lot of celebrities and stuff. And I just gone through a year's worth of training where I learned how to teach people how to eat with their body type, if they're ectomorph, endomorph, mesomorph, eating 6 small meals per day, and I was prescribing them meat 6 times per day. And I learned the science behind speeding up the metabolism, and I learned life coaching, body sculpting, and a lot of different things for that. And so right at the peak of my career, I learned it all. I went to this hardware store in Santa Monica. And this gentleman approached me, and he was about 84 years old, I would say, if I were guessing. Big white beard, and he stood really tall and strong. His eyes were like crystal blue, like baby blue. His skin was like a baby's skin. And he came up to me and he shook my hand. And I can shake hands pretty well, and he gripped it way harder than me. I was like, whoa, this guy's onto something. And he looked at my shirt, an Extreme Makeover shirt on, and he goes, are you telling civil lies, or are you living a civil life? And it was kind of like a clever pun asking me if I really knew what I was talking about whenever I was educating all these people and prescribing them things. And he gave me a DVD called Eating, which is like a kind of a boring 1984 version of all the popular movies that are out nowadays, the Food Inks and the Food Matters and Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, and all the documentaries that are out. It's kind of like an older one. But the way that the movie outlined the principles of eating and how the Industrial Revolution happened, and with the Industrial Revolution, subsidized meat. The age of convenience came, then heart disease rose, diabetes rose, all those things rose in direct correlation to people's eating. And it also showed the detrimental effects that it has on nature, and it showed a plant-based diet and the health benefits of that. And it was unbelievable how I couldn't deny it, and it resonated so deeply within myself. And so immediately overnight, at that point in my life, I wasn't 100% alive, but I went vegan overnight. And I had just gone through a year of training underneath this very specific thing to prescribe people meat. I'm working with a bunch of ex-bodybuilders who were famous on television, and I'm like, I'm vegan now. Yeah, they gave me a hard time. And so probably about 2 weeks after that, I did my first real cleanse, and I did the master cleanse, and it was my first cleanse ever. And I was like, I had learned the benefits. I just started reading as much information as I could about raw foods. And so I did the master cleanse, and I remember the first 2 or 3 days, the normal symptoms happened. Like my stomach shrank, I felt hungry, I got a little headache, I was a little bit grouchy, I had cravings. And on the 4th day, I was personal training at the time, I was in Irvine, California. And I was on day 4, and I had this gallon of lemon and cayenne and maple syrup and water. And that's what I've been drinking for 4 days. And I decided to go to the campus and take a nap in the sun. And I went right at lunchtime, and all these doors were opening to Italian restaurants and pizza restaurants and Mexican food. These smells were just coming over me. I was like, am I doing the right thing? This is overwhelming. But I think it was on day 5. Everybody has a breakthrough day, and the breakthrough day is whenever they wake up, and they kind of maybe, it doesn't matter how much sleep they are, it's like you're instantly awake. And it's the best feeling you've ever had. And you're like, I haven't felt this good since I was 16 or 12 or however long it is. But that next morning I woke up, and then from that day on, it just got better and better and better and better. And at the end of the 14 days, I went and rode my bike 40 miles, and I can do like acrobatics. I've done gymnastics my whole life, and had 5 siblings. We would just wrestle. We grew up without a TV, so we just wrestle and play ball outside and bike and run around. And so I was able to do things physically that I'd never done in my life after 14 days of not eating any solid foods. And that completely blew away everything that I had learned the prior year of my life on how food works to give you energy. And what I really realized in that cleanse was that the majority of our energy goes to breaking down food. And if you take away your body's need to break down food continually, it has tons of energy to do all the other metabolic functions that our body is born to do. So that's repairing cells, repairing eyesight, decalcifying joints, detoxing your organs, all of those things. So that was the beginning. I've been doing raw foods. Giuliano's Raw, I don't know if y'all are familiar with that. That was my first raw food experience. And it's been a journey. I've been doing it 7 years now. I'm not 100% raw anymore. I just come out and say that. Closer to 100% in the summer, in the spring, and I allow myself to have some in the winter, some like yams with coconut oil or quinoa or something like that, and listening to my body. But if someone is 100% raw and it's working for them, I encourage them to do that as long as they can, and that's amazing. But I do encourage people to cleanse and to discover that intuition for sure. Let's see, I run a project called Cleanse America. I've had about 3,000 people that have done a cleanse in the last 9 months online and done videos and support for them. And Cleanse America started, and it started because my mother passed away. And my mother's 55. She's a beautiful, beautiful human being, very humble, very wise, very loving, very godly woman. And her death really affected me because everywhere I went after that, she died of congestive heart failure. She had had a poor diet and lack of exercise up to that. And when I first started my raw food journey, I was really judgmental of her and where she was at. And I'd go to Thanksgiving with my family, and I'd be like, "Oh, you're killing yourself, and you're creating an acidic environment in your body." Like, knew all the arguments, and I would just go and eat my salad in the corner. And that's something I still carry with me today, is that maybe if my message had been different, at that point in my raw food journey, that maybe my mom's life would have been different. But she had a peace with dying, and so that peace is within me now, knowing that she had a peace with God and dying. So I would say it was a calling with Cleanse America. It was a real calling. like God showed my heart is like you need to help people, and so everywhere I go in America, it's very unhealthy. There's food everywhere, but it's one of the most obese nations in the world, if not the most obese. And so everywhere I see my mom is a reflection. So everybody I meet, I'm just like I'm meeting my mom, and if that's where they're at, it's like, come here, let me give you love. Let me show you that you don't have to take meds. You can heal yourself naturally through doing these cleansing things. And so that's what I do with Cleanse America, and we're going to have time at the end for question and answer as well. And so if anyone has any questions, you can write them down. And if it's an immediate thing and you have a short-term memory, you can just raise your hand really quick. Because I someone's speaking like, man, I'm not going to remember that. So that's a good question. But if someone has something that's immediate, you can raise your hand as well. Detox and cleansing. It's a very powerful thing. Very, very powerful. Detox basically means to remove toxins from your body. If you've been eating food that's been cooked or heavily processed or lots of meats or any of those things, and that's a normal part of your diet, and you have a sedentary lifestyle, there's a very high likelihood that your body is full of toxins. And so when you do a detox or a cleanse, what happens is you start putting the purest foods in the entire world that are full of enzymes, full of fiber, unless you're juicing, full of amino acids, micronutrients, all of those in immediately, instantly assimilated form into your body. When you start giving your body the message that you're only going to eat pure, clean foods, your body responds immediately. For most people, the response is not very fun. So let's talk just really quickly about detox symptoms. I've seen them all. Headaches is a very common one. If you are on a lot of caffeine, headaches is probably one of the most number ones. Most people will go to the bathroom more than usual, which is a very, very good thing actually. It may not seem like it if you're at work and you're running to the bathroom every 2 hours, but it's a very good thing. That's why I usually start the cleanses on the weekends, so they're at home and they don't have to run to the bathroom at work and all that. There's a lot of time, I don't know if you're familiar with the term projection. When you project onto someone, if someone's in a relationship, they'll always be angry for the first 2 or 3 days with their spouse or their kids. So there's a lot of projection that happens. Like, I'm mad at you for this. Are you sure you're mad at me for that? Because it seems like you're just going to grass you because you haven't eaten normal food. So that's bound to happen. All those things come up. All those things are very real. But what I have learned it is this, and detox symptoms are your body's wisdom, alright? It's your body's wisdom, and what it's doing is removing things that would later manifest into a disease. So it's your body's wisdom removing toxins, those things could later manifest into disease. And so what I tell people to do is to view the detox symptom as just like the best healing that could possibly happen to your body. And so if you have a headache, and I've had a headache before when I've done detoxes, I'm just like thankful for that headache, because who knows what that headache would have been 2 years if I hadn't done a cleanse. Or if someone has some bloating in their stomach, they go to the bathroom more than usual. Well, maybe that bloating, that temporary uncomfortableness, maybe you're not getting colon cancer like 10 years later in your life, Maybe that whenever you're tired, and I tell people if they're tired during a cleanse, especially at the beginning, there's nothing wrong. Your body wants to rest. That's a very essential part of the cleansing process, is rest. So I encourage people, instead of trying to find something to stimulate them if they're tired, to go take a 30-minute nap. That's a very powerful thing to do. So honoring your body with rest is very powerful. And let's see. Alright. The detox symptoms usually last 2 to 3 days. Depending on your body type. Ectomorphic body types are people that are very, very thin. They can eat 2 pizzas in a night and wake up with a 6-pack, and they can eat anything they want, and they look amazing, and those are the people that cleansing is less important to. Most people's are mesomorphic body types, which is kind of like my body type, a little bit thicker, and then endomorphic body types who are just kind of pear-shaped. They don't metabolize carbs very well. Their digestive system's a little bit slower. Those are 3 basic body types. So the ways to speed up the detox symptoms that I've found. Is everyone here familiar with grounding? Grounding. Okay, that's awesome. Grounding has been one of the most powerful things I've incorporated into my life on a daily basis. The earth is a healing mechanism. It's a living organism. When you connect to the earth gives off negative ions. It's an electrical charge, negative ions. Inflammation in the body is positively charged ions. And so when we make contact with the earth, just by sitting on a log and watching the sunset, or going out and gardening and touching the ground, or walking barefoot or running barefoot, what we do is neutralize the positively charged ions in our joints, and we reduce inflammation. This is one of the most calming things that you can do, is to be barefoot in the grass, running around. It feels amazing, and it's one of the fastest ways to reduce inflammation as well. So I would encourage everyone to, and I realize it's kind of cold here and kind of wet. So I'm speaking from someone from Texas who 90% of the year we can go outside in the ground and it's beautiful. And I realize now that 90% of you are not going to go out when it's freezing cold and sit in the snow. There's other ways to reduce inflammation, but that is one really powerful one. And if the days are beautiful, like yesterday, just went and sat on the, where were we at? English Bay. Just sat on the sand and just enjoyed the sun. And that was grounding. So that is a really fast one. Dry skin brushing is another one. It looks like a big toothbrush. And you can just scrape towards your heart always. So start here, coming up towards your heart, all over your back. And what that does is just removes the top layer of your skin. It stimulates your lymph system as well, increases circulation, and it's a really good way of speeding up the detox process. And another one that we have, I made a little list because sometimes I tell stories and go off on rabbit trails and I have to come back to it. And colonics and enemas. And anyone here ever done a colonic? Yes. Wow, more people have done colonics than have grounded. That's amazing. That's an unusual statistic. You're going to write that down. Yeah, colonics are very, very helpful. Whenever we eat processed foods for our entire life, mucoid plaque builds up in our intestines. And that stops our body from being able to absorb nutrients, and it slows our digestion down, and that can later manifest into colon cancer or leaky gut or things like that. So doing a colonic is a way of speeding up and releasing the built-up mucoid plaque and the feces within your system. You can do it as an enema as well. And with Cleanse America, I got to go travel around America last year and interview all these health and wellness experts. And when we were in New York, when I interviewed Tracy Piper, and she does like all the NBA athletes and the celebrities. She was doing Fergie when we were there to make her look good for her photo shoot. And she was a healer. She was an actual healer. And she's like, "You're going to get one, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll get one." I was, the leader of Cleanse America. I got to be open for that. So I got my first colonic with 3 people in the room on film. Yeah. And I mean, it doesn't get much more vulnerable than that. It's like, okay, here's a little cloth, you lay here. Okay, yeah, anyway. But what I will say is that it was one of the most healing experiences of my life, and it feels like you have diarrhea, and you have to hold on to it, and then you let it go. It's not very comfortable at all. And but I will say that I know that our emotional bodies hold on to pain, and right in the middle of the colonic, all of a sudden I felt 2 parts of my body, right here and right here. And this is with people in room cameras, and I started doing like Lamaze breathing, like not even knowing what I was doing. I just started Lamaze breathing. And she's like, "Are you feeling pain?" I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "Okay, you need to release it." And immediately my mind knew what that pain was. And the pain was, one was my mother's death, and the other one was the pain that I caused my daughter whenever I went through a divorce. And I was holding on to that right here and right here. And I'd always had, before that, digestive issues in those 2 areas. Never, always done like detoxes or cleanses or eating. It had been like a reoccurring thing. It might happen once every 2 months or 3 months, but it would be there. And so immediately, as soon as she said that, my mind identified with what the pain was. And instantly, like every part of my being wanted to hold on to that pain. Like I did not want to let go of it because I identified with it. Like that was who I was that pain. And like as soon as I like was holding it, she's like, "Paul, you need to breathe through this, release it." And I immediately, like my mom came to me and my daughter came to me just like in an instant. And my mom was like, when you think of me, I want you to think of love, not pain. Like, why are you holding on to this pain? Like, I don't want you to feel pain. And my daughter said the same thing. She's like, "Dad, I love you. I don't want you to feel pain." But I've been carrying that for years. And immediately I just like forgave myself and God forgave me and just like released it, and just like baby tears just started streaming out of my face, just like pouring out of my face. It was like I was like an infant again. And when I left there, I just felt like super high on life. And it was the first time that in my life, like usually when I eat something, like we just had a drink and water, there's always something in your intestines. So you're always eating on top of something, and it's just pushing it through. Or peristaltic actions happening, is massaging its way through. But I ate a thing of blueberries after the thing, and it was so interesting because there was nothing in me. It was like the blueberry had its entire experience, just like being a blueberry. I feel like every single thing that a blueberry does to your body, I was like, oh, that's what happens when you eat a blueberry. Okay. And just like, and that's how intimate it can be. That's how the relationship with food can be. That's the relationship that you can have, is you can know exactly what you're eating and the relationship that it has with your body, like every single time. And so if you eat something that has a negative reaction, you're like, okay, I just ate that and my stomach's bloated and I don't feel good and I have low energy. Then avoid that food. It's very simple. That's intuitive eating. That's intuitive eating in 2 sentences. So yeah, colonic, and Stephanie might be able to talk a little about it. She's a colon hydrotherapist, and she might briefly mention that here in a minute as well, but we'll talk